Hello, everyone, and welcome to PharmiVon Media Podcast, where we bring you conversations with global leaders shaping the future of healthcare, clinical research, and medical innovation. Today, we have truly inspiring guest with us, Dr. Anna Titkova. Dr. Titkova is a country head, Ukraine, and director of international operations at Pratia, and also serves as an associate professor with an academic background including MSc in medical and educational sciences. She is globally respected leader in clinical operations and medical affairs, with extensive experience in scaling clinical research operations across borders, navigating complex regulatory landscapes, and building resilient, patient-centric trial ecosystems. Our podcast theme today is The Architect of Clinical Excellence, Scaling Operation Across Borders. Dr. Titkova, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for your invitation. It's a great pleasure for me as well to be with you and to share my expertise, my experience, and my life, which I've got in clinical research. Thank you very much.
To begin, could you walk us through your professional journey from your early days in clinical research to leading international clinical operations? What motivated you to choose this path?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. So, medicine was my childhood dream. From my early ages, I had this fixed idea that I should be a doctor. And after finishing the school, I entered the medical university, got the medical degree, then I received the specialization in cardiology after internal diseases. So that's the regular process, how to become a specialist in the field, medical field. And then I started my scientific career. So I received PhD degree, then assistant professor, then associated professor title. And I combined at that period of time my work being as a doctor in the state hospital in Ukraine with my scientific career in the Department of General Practice Family Medicine in Medical University. From 2017, I started actively to work in clinical research. Firstly, as everyone in this our field, like being a scientific person to be a part of research team, then being a sub-investigator, and then to become a part-time worker for CRO and SMO companies, local companies on the territory of Ukraine. I was active, I was speaking a lot, visiting different conferences, international events, and in 2019, I have got the proposal from the international site network called Pratia to arrange their activities on the territory of Ukraine. So in 2019, they decided to become a global company, international company, and Ukraine should be like one of the countries where they would like to have their operations. So from that period of time, I arranged the company there. We've got 8 affiliated sites, so where we built our clinical research units based on the state or private hospitals. And I opened the first in the country dedicated only solely to clinical research medical institution. So we started all of this business during the pandemic. So you remember that we've got this period of time in March 2020, and exactly in March 2020, I got this company registration documents. So our path started with this COVID period, and then unfortunately in 2022, it was followed by the in war on the territory of Ukraine and all of the things that everyone now knows all around the world.
Okay, it's really interesting to hear how that motivation evolved over time. You have worked in extremely challenging environments, including maintaining clinical operations during times of geopolitical crisis. How have these experiences shaped your leadership philosophy and approach to decision making?
So, of course, no one can never be prepared to any crises or unexpected circumstances, conditions, especially such as, for example, pandemic was at the beginning, now this war on the territory of Ukraine. So we haven't got any rules. We haven't got any instructions that you should follow. Probably that's going from your this experience, from your expertise, from this human being part of every person. Because actually, you can imagine, you've got so big amount of problems and challenges all around you, personal one, family one, professional ones, so that you should to combine them all and to continue not only to finding the sense of continuing doing the work, but also this force, this energy, enthusiasm to move forward, to move people, to give them sense as well to continue the work, even having the same troubles and problems as everyone being under these conditions. So, of course, it's from 2022. If we're speaking about this period of time, of course, it changed a lot. So we were forced to change our operations, to change the way how we're managing the processes, because people were moving. They were internally or externally relocated somewhere, or inside Ukraine or outside of Ukraine. We have the same problems with patients, with medical professionals. So we moved and changed our site from the eastern part, where we were actually and primarily located, to the western part of Ukraine, so the more safer part where we can continue these operations. So people were moving there. We established all of these activities inside the medical research center. So electricity, the generators, Starlinks, internet, so all of that stuff that usually normal people shouldn't have worries and problems to have. So that was also like one of the parts of our businesses and activities to be established and to be implemented. Also the society awareness. So people who were moving and they were frustrated. They didn't understand where they are even moving from one city to another city. So you're alone in this situation. So it was also important to make this awareness, to gather people together into the one place, let's say, to have this understanding that we can continue. So the life can go on even regardless the external activities and external things that are around you. So we may continue the same work as we did before. And I believe the main was this changing of the mindset. So when we're speaking in general about clinical researches, clinical operations, so we're speaking about patient centricity, some of these things that we should keep in mind. But usually we're so focused in these our numbers, KPIs, P&Ls, finances, that we haven't got this time to put attention, proper attention. And such a situation as we've got in Ukraine, it revealed so greatly, so incredibly the human, this part of clinical research. Because actually when you're without extra these facilities, without extra support, without something more that you can get in the normal life, but you have this main purpose. Patient with the disease, patient who is coming to you with his pain, with his belief and hope into your work. And this was so clearly visible during these years of our operations in Ukraine when we started clinical trials there, how the response of patients has changed drastically during this period of time, because you know that previously patients, they were a little bit stressed to participate in clinical trials. They thought that this experiment, that something maybe not legal and something not good that can be done for them. But now they understand this necessity to become a part of the innovation, to get this proper treatment, to receive proper medical support, and to participate in clinical trials. So different mindset among patient population, among medical professional people, and all of this was the force and the trigger to change our approach, how we perform the work. Of course, we do it the same way as everyone else, according to GCP requirements, according to the protocol procedures, everything the same. But probably this human part of the clinical research is coming on the top, and then aligned to all of these legal regulatory requirements that we've got.
Okay, that kind of experience definitely changes how leaders think and act. Our theme today focuses on scaling operations across borders. From your perspective, what does true clinical excellence look like in global context?
I believe that's a very difficult question, and no one will never tell you the golden recipe and the golden rule in any industry, not only in clinical trials, about the operational excellence. I believe this is the continuity, this is the sustainability of the process that should be, this is the adaptation to the world global changes which we see and can observe, especially during the last 3-4 active years in the whole world, everywhere in the world. So that's the way how we can survive in this environment. So how our operations, how we can change, probably the same thing that, as I said before, the mindset of people to be ready to these changes, to be ready to adapt, to be ready to be flexible in the work that they're doing, and actually to have these exact goals, plans inside the organizations. So I like such of the sentences or words said that strategy without goals is a dream. Goals without plan are chaos, and plan without action is an illusion. So we usually confuse this vision with strategy, and then we are disappointed why it hasn't changed. But any strategy doesn't work if people doesn't understand why it's needed. So this full transparency, some visualization of the process, some small victories, these are the main parts of making the culture of change. And when all of this vision strategy will come into exact metrics, exact steps, when people will understand their responsibilities, their roles, they will see the progress, and they will feel that they are a part of the common domain, the world probably common movement forward in the organization. So that's how I believe it should be done. So regardless all of these changes, adaptation is always painful. It's always with restrictions from the majority of people to change as usual, but if they understand that they're inside this big movement according to the normal things that are going around them in the world, according to this adaptation, so we should be ready for all of these challenges, but only with this mindset of people inside the company that they're inside this big common process and they are putting their part into making the next steps together.
I really like how you define excellence beyond just outcomes. What are the most common operational challenges organizations face when expanding clinical trials internationally? Is that regulatory diversity, site readiness, talent gaps, or cultural differences? How do you address them?
So I believe all of this exists and will exist and will never disappear from our businesses. And it's always difficult to make all of these mergers and acquisitions, to add new companies into your business. Of course, it depends on the structure of the formal business. So is it a small, for example, site which you would like to add, or maybe some big local organization, even maybe international in several countries, more working organization that is now becoming the part of your company. So that depends, of course, in each cases. But cultural differences, I believe, they're on the first place. Even when we start the first steps, when we start discussions regarding our common activities, possible communication, possible synergies of work. So that's the main that we should cross and we should manage, because we used to think in the way how we were taught in our families, in our universities, in our societies. It's not bad. We're all different, and due to this difference, we're making the changes in the world. But that's the main how we should align this our vision and understanding of the work that we do. Also, what I might tell you that the difficult thing, I'm speaking from the side of a big site network. So when we're taking sites into our organization, so we're changing their way of running the business. So they're losing a little bit their autonomy anyway. So you're becoming not a standalone, for example, site, a standalone local network. You're becoming a part of international network with our rules, with our crazy requirements in finance, in quality, in in strategic planning, with all of this that maybe was not needed for you for previous even 20 years of your work. You might be successful, you may be efficient for this period of time, but it doesn't mean that all of this will work being inside the part of international network. And always it's just a constraint, a little stress between the parties to understand that you're excellent, you're a good worker, so you're gain some of this extremely good results in your business, but it doesn't mean that we may continue to do in the same way as you used to do this work. So that's probably the second biggest problem in uniting people under this idea inside the one company with a centralized model and structure that we've got. And some small this year operational things, but they're probably not so difficult to manage when you have this proper understanding and being on the same way with all of the people who will start to work together with you.
That's a very realistic picture of what global expansion actually involves. Could you share your strategic approach to building standardized yet flexible operational frameworks that work across multiple countries?
Probably I may just highlight in the main points. We can speak about this for many hours, because here it's the work that we may do, for example, for 1 year of starting negotiation, then coming to some understanding, then coming to the legal part, then becoming officially the part of the company, and then probably 1 more year to make all of the standardization of the processes that we've got into the company that we take into our umbrella. So we've got centralized departments. So anyway, legal, financial, quality in our company, it's patient engagement, portfolio management teams, so people working with sales, with receiving more studies and promoting us and our sites. So all of this structure, they should be aligned in each our site. So when we're speaking about, for example, our company and proposing to sponsor CROs that were good in running the study in 8 countries on 35 sites. So we're saying and assuming that all of them are working under the same standards that we've got. So that's the process how we should do it. So from this, let's say, from the first door and the first step coming inside the site with this rebranding and making the new logos and everything else on the walls and reception everywhere in the new site, till all of the process automatization, we have technology implemented inside our network, so that should be also used and by the new sites as well. So all the papers, signatures, headings everywhere, to this mindset of the people who should understand that, for example, then the next day a patient or some CRA is calling them asking about the study, they should say that here now our name is Pratia, and we're glad to see you in our site because we're working according to the standards of international site network.
That balance between structure and flexibility is clearly critical. You have successfully led cross-functional and multicultural teams. What leadership qualities are essential when managing global clinical operations?
To be a human. Probably for me that's the same. So you need to have this probably business acumen, to have this understanding and feeling of the business, feeling of the things that are moving around you and people who are around you. So anyway, our work is the part of our life, but it should be the positive part. So people should understand that they, as I said at the beginning about this Ukrainian case, but I believe it's the same everywhere. So they should feel that they're a part of something big. So it's very difficult being a big company because, of course, it's not possible to gather all together hundreds of people to bring them the same vision at the same time, yet change all of the people mindset. Of course, people they are looking all around, so they are moving from one company to another. So that's the normal thing. But we should bring the value of and greatness, and to see the greatness and value of each person. So that's, I believe, the main leadership qualities to have and to understand with whom you can follow your dreams, follow your vision, follow your plans, and with whom probably it's not the proper way of your interactions and communication in reaching these goals. So that's this human part of each person. So and the leader as well, and the main probably for them. So each person should understand that they are valued, they are appreciated. It's not even about money. It's about this normal, sensitive things that should exist, and then that they can bring their part in their force, their knowledge, their expertise into the rising of something big. But this big should be clearly understood by each person who is working inside the company. What does it mean? At the end, where we are coming, and how we can get here together with all of you who are working inside the company.
Okay, it's very interesting. How do you ensure an alignment, accountability, and motivation among teams working across different healthcare systems and time zones?
For now, for us, it's a little bit easier because we just started our operations in the United States. So this time zone difference and challenges, we haven't got them before, but we're now expanding more. So we're starting this operation in the United States. I believe that soon, in the next few years, we will be worldwide. So that we will come to these challenges, not only with cultural difference, but also with this normally, difficult question with time zones. Sometimes it's like the laughing thing that, okay, so why it's not possible just to have a call, but sometimes it's really a complicated task and thing that can be irritated for others, why we need, for example, to change our schedule for a later hour. So, for example, wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning because we should be on the call here. But also that's one of the things that we will come. We're lucky not to have it till now. About accountability, about people understanding. So, of course, being a big company, we've got our internal KPIs, we've got goals, we've got objectives for every person, for the leadership team as well. So, of course, we cannot just rely and say that, okay, you're a good guy, work as you want and do as what do you want to do. Of course, it's not possible. So we've got all of these strict requirements for everyone to follow, to understand for the next year. We have plans, we have forecasting. So all of this is moving and sometimes exhausting, but it should be. Otherwise, big companies, they're not able to work without this clear understanding of your exact role, of your exact goals and objectives that you should achieve, at least like at this standard level. And of course, if you overachieve, over-deliver, that's good. But for this over-delivery, for overachievement, for that, of course, we should have this motivation. So some people, it also depends, because recently I've got one of my conversation with my colleagues from one of our countries, and we discussed this topic with her, and she said that, that it doesn't mean that, for example, each person would like to have only bonuses or financial remuneration. So because sometimes we are focused, okay, so people would like money, and we need to give them more and more and more. And she even confirmed to me. So for someone, for example, to have this flexibility of going to work, for example, at 10 a.m. and because she has some children whom she needs to put to the kindergarten or somewhere to school. So, and for her, this is more important than bonuses at the end of the year. And if you give this person this flexibility, for example, in the morning hours, and she will be the best employee for you. She will not be searching for other job because she knows that she is gaining this. For someone, it will be, for example, to have 1 month vacation period at the same during the year. So not to divide it into weeks, but to have 1 month to go somewhere, because this is his or her style of life. And for this person, he doesn't need, for example, extra money. He has enough for them to make this 1 month vacation. But the main to have this 1 month given to him. So he will work for 11 months over delivering all of your tasks, because he will be waiting for these 12 months being outside of work. So, and this is so important, and sometimes we're not thinking about this. So okay, we will have bonus if you will do 1 to 3 5-year goals. You will have your 12 days of vacation, then plus 7 days more, and that's all. And like these machines, okay, doing this because we're too big, we haven't got too much time to think about all of your family needs or your personal even needs according to this life-work balance. But sometimes that's important. That's bigger motivation than financials for someone. And I believe that the changes in the world that we're having recently and understanding of the difficulty of all of this and real this madness that is going around us. So I believe that not everyone is now fixed so much in money. So sometimes really this human approach, this understanding of the personal needs is the biggest motivator to get people involved and engaged in doing the work.
Okay, I think that's a very thoughtful way to keep teams connected without over control, I guess. Okay, so patient centricity is often discussed but difficult to implement. How do you ensure that patient needs remain at the core operational decision making at scale?
So I'm a doctor. For me, it's easy. For me, it's easy because I was taught from the first courses of medical university that the patient, that's the core of our work. So you need to feel this patient's needs. You need to understand the patient's voice. You need to feel how this patient is going on, his family's feelings and all of that stuff. Of course, when we are coming to clinical research, that usually how it was previously, clinical trials, it was like the complementary additional part of some activities inside the big medical institutions. So people were not focused too much. So for them, this was mostly like the more technical work. So, okay, they were working to add some value to the science in the development of new treatments. They were adding, of course, some value to people, just to give them one more drug, for example, and of course, to have this financial remuneration for doing this work. But this was not something like the main activity with this proper mindset. It was more mechanical, technical work to do additionally to the main activity. And I'm so happy nowadays that these site networks and the approach to perform clinical trials from the perspective of solely dedicated clinical institutions to clinical trials, it's rising. And for now, I believe we have almost 250 officially worked SMOs worldwide, and it's increasing. And we have this good examples like our company who are expanding and becoming bigger and bigger. So that means that this model, it works. So when we have a proper understanding, so like the separately standalone business in running clinical trials in own clinical research sites, it's such a good idea because it can change this perception of the work. So it's not just like this technical mechanical work of open inclusion exclusion criteria, finding this patient, sorted out them and do procedures according to the protocol. It's something more. It's this vision, it's this mission of the companies, it's the strategy that we've got in the company. So that's also coming to the awareness of people. So coming inside the societies, inside patient population. So where we can work more directly with physicians who can be our referral physicians, with these patient advocacy groups, with in general, to make this awareness about clinical research and to change the approach of people, even people, medical professionals. So we still have some doctors who still believe that this is experiments and not something valuable and needed for their patients, for them to be involved in this industry. So we still have this. So you can imagine what may be the approach from a normal person far away from medicine and to invite him or her to become a participant of clinical trial. So that's, I believe, a good wave that we've got, a good direction with having dedicated sites or site networks for clinical trials that can bring patients inside the clinical research as a participant, not like someone. I usually say this and during my some speaking or interviews that patient, it's not like a simple idea in your system. It's behind each of this idea there is a story of this pain, a story of this family, the story of this hope and believe into you, and this will bring this trust and then sustainability and continuity of the business. Otherwise we will not be able to manage it.
Okay, you've explained that in a very practical, grounded way, I would say. Can you share an example where patient feedback or local insights significantly influence your clinical operation strategy?
I see it very, very clearly now on the territory of Ukraine. So when the war started, we were focused on the relocation of the patients because when during the first weeks, months of war, the borders were closed and we haven't got any IMP, any drugs shipment to Ukraine. So not only in the clinical research, but overall. So people were out of the access to medication there, and especially in clinical trials, especially in oncological clinical trials. So we were focusing on trying to move these patients. Of course, it was not possible to take all of them. You know, before the war, Ukraine was one of the biggest country for clinical research data and for number of clinical trials. We've got 300 approvals each year, so new clinical trials, 600 ongoing clinical trials. You can imagine the amount of patients involved there. Of course, it was not possible to help all of them, but at least with some of them we were successful, and we transferred them to our sites in Poland. They continue participation in clinical trials, and this was their feedback that yes, so when person is losing everything around him and then receiving this hope that at least he can continue treatment and have this hope to survive, physically survive from his disease, during his disease, and being in the safety, that's very important. And now when we have normal clinical studies in Ukraine, for example, recently we've got ulcerative colitis study, and our doctor, PI, she, after the first 2 months of the recruitment, she started to receive the messages from patients that how happy they are, so how important it was for them to feel again that they can have the normal quality of life, because you know that this ulcerative colitis, it's a very harmful condition for patients and decrease the quality of life very significantly. And then when they started to feel better, so after the several injections of the IMP, and I even put this post on LinkedIn just highlighting the attention of people that you see only one study, only few patients, because we've got very short recruitment period for several months. That's also we're not able to give more people access to this drug. But even after a few months, we've got maybe 10 feedbacks, this is SMS to our doctor saying that you are saving our lives, and thank you very much for it. So that's the main when you see it. And even now this doctor is always calling me, okay, when we can have another study. I have more patients, so they are calling me from another region in Ukraine. It was recently, the previous week, I asked her how could they know about planning on study in your site, like 1,000 kilometers between cities. She said I didn't know. But they're calling me and asking, we know that you have some studies, so can we participate? Can we come? We agreed to come 1,000 kilometers to you just to be a participant of the study.
Okay, that example really shows the value of listening at the local level, I would say. I'd like to ask, looking ahead, how do you see the role of AI, decentralized trials, I would say, and real world evidence shaping the future of clinical operations?
We see now the bigger and bigger amount of elements of decentralization that are coming. Of course, not each country and not all regulations and legislations are ready still to be fully implemented inside the countries, because I can observe it and compare the readiness, for example, Eastern Europe, Middle Europe, Western Europe. In the United States, for example, for now, it's the normality to have all of this remote monitoring, remote preselection, for example, visits. Here in Europe, we still have some constraints and difficulties to do this fully remotely, but anyway, we will come. And my personal vision is that it will be not only decentralization, it will be artificial intelligence. So where we'll come, I believe when our next interview will be in a few years, we will be speaking about this in another way. So that is now, even I cannot imagine how it can be. So who will be speaking with me from this artificial intelligence? I don't system next. But I believe in a few years we will understand how it will be implemented. So not only decentralized elements of this remote monitoring or e-source implementation, but this will be something more significant and that we cannot even imagine for now what it will be. This is my vision. So digitalization definitely will come. It will be more and more implemented. We will come to this virtual communication, I believe, with patients as well, with this less number of in-site visits, blood tests, so that can be done remotely from patients' homes by these drones. I don't know, by someone else, but I believe that's not the end. So something else is going to be in our life and in clinical research as well, with this use of AI.
Okay, that future sounds challenging, but also full of opportunity, I would say. Okay, regulatory requirements vary significantly across regions. What strategies do you recommend for maintaining compliance while remaining operationally agile?
It's inside the European Union, we have more or less adopted regulations. So when we're running the clinical trials from the regulatory perspective in the European Union, it's more or less the same requirements. Of course, in each of the country, we still need to have the submissions to the local authorities to receive the approvals, ethical committees, of course, but they are more or less the same and with different timelines, maybe plus minus some of the extra documents to be submitted or prepared in some exact countries. If we're speaking about countries outside of the European Union, it's absolutely different. So, for example, for me, opening the business in Ukraine is outside of the European Union. Sometimes it was even difficult to speak with our central teams and my colleagues to say that it will not work in such a way in Ukraine because we have a little bit different requirements. So if it's good for European Union, but it's not applicable for out of the European Union countries. So actually, yeah, that's the difference more significant among countries inside. If we're speaking about Europe, inside European Union and outside European Union, the United States, as I said, that we're a fresh company there, so they're absolutely different as well in the way of running the trials, in the regulations. So, but that's another story probably to say about this. So it's possible. It's not so difficult overall. So you need to have professionals in each of the countries. So that's why we've got our country managers, country heads, clinical operations leads who are good professionals in the industry who knows quite well all of these requirements, regulatory requirements and legal requirements to clinical trials in their countries. Otherwise, it's not possible to run the business internationally. But it's doable. So it doesn't mean that it's not doable or too much the difficulty in the adaptation and doing the work.
Okay, that kind of clarity is so important in global trials, I would say. Okay, what skills, both technical and soft, should young professionals focus on if they aim to build a career in global clinical operations?
The main is GCP. This is like our golden standard of operations. So requirements of all GCP to know everything what is written there. So how to perform clinical trials. We have these trainings in each country. We go to the trainings. We have this international GCP trainings. This universal one, not related to exact clinical trials. So that's the first thing. We see these people being a site network. You know that we have these coordinators. So that's the first point of contact probably for all of our patients, for our clients as CROs and sponsors. And these people, usually young girls, mostly rarely boys coming to the industry who would like to try themselves. So from pharma universities, from medical universities, from biological divisions of the universities who would like to try themselves in clinical research. We train them. They start to work, and I may tell you that we see that some of them after 1 or 2 years of work in clinical research, they decided to go away. So they decided not to continue this work. That's not for them. Because honestly saying, to work in clinical trials, you need to love this work. It's too complicated. It's such specifically focused on these details. It requires a separate mindset, honestly saying. This mindset of even from my colleagues, for example, taking this example of my colleagues from doctors, not all of them can work in clinical research. So they cannot change their vision of work into these requirements of GCP, requirements of the protocols, all of that stuff. So that's you should love this work. So if you love what you're doing, you will be efficient, you will be productive, and you can gain new steps in the development and growth of your career as well. English language, of course, because otherwise, you will not be able to run any work in clinical research on any level in any site worldwide. And this year, understanding of the processes from the human part of the work. But I believe that people, and even with my experience, people who are coming from the medical universities who have this, at least even nurses from the middle medical year institutions, medical schools, they are in 90%, they're staying in clinical research. People who are coming from pharma, from biological, this biotech faculties, so 50-50. Not each of them are ready to continue their work in clinical trials.
Okay. That's the advice many early career professionals need to hear. As a leader, what legacy do you hope to leave in the field of global clinical research and operations?
You mean like my personal vision of and where I would like to implement myself, or in general as a company?
By yourself.
By myself, okay. So I must say that for the last almost 4 years, from 2022, I have changed a lot. My personal mindset and vision has changed a lot. And if previously I thought that, okay, it's just like these goals, financial, some of the KPIs, P&Ls, some of the development of the business, something like that. That was the main for me. So that I have this goal, I need to go to it, so I should achieve, open more sites, having more doctors in my network, so something like that. Now I am working for this 4 years and trying to make this voice loud from the site perspective, from the vulnerable population, from people who are living under crises, from the patient point of view. I understand that that should be also be continued. So I like it. For me, this is like my personal internal duty to make my small contribution to the change of this our environment, to make the small drop into the change of the world and how we work, how we need to think that we are humans first of all, and then to think about numbers, about businesses, about KPIs that we've got. So I still believe that I will be able to continue this and operations in Ukraine, so that sponsors will come, that this horror will finish, and we can be fully functional there, and I may have more medical professionals who can come to me with this proper mindset, who may understand that they're still the part of this international community, so that they can be among their colleagues, not isolated, like unfortunately now we've got this with the lack number of clinical trials in Ukraine. I can give this hope for patients, not only in Ukraine but worldwide, to see the examples from others, to see that if people were able to manage their life and to manage their disease, even going through this horror of war, if you are in a safe country, so everything is possible for you as well. So just to have this strength, to have this support to make this first step and to become a participant in clinical research. I believe that I can continue this my international expansion and having more countries with whom I will be able to communicate, to work together inside our network, so that we will be able to work together into this our cross cross-functional, cross-country, cross-site communication, because also experience. When you speak with people, they're all great professionals in their countries, on their sites. So you gain this expertise, you gain the new knowledge that you can combine and to see, and also sometimes to give this example to someone that, okay, so it's not a problem. So even having this cross-cultural, as you said, you mentioned before, differences. So that's doable. So look at your colleague.
Yeah, that's a meaningful way to think about long-term impact. Okay, now we'll have a rapid fire round. Okay, I'll just ask you a question. And okay, one leadership principle you strongly believe in.
You cannot take from the world more than you give to it. And that can be implemented for everything what you do. So in your work, in your life, in the leadership of positions. So anyway, leadership is it's a general term. Yeah, it's a general condition probably, because you also have your own objectives, goals, so all of this, yeah, paperwork, let's say, the bureaucracy around you. So that's normality. So that's how we live. But you need to think that what you can bring to this world. So doing this work, okay, performing your KPIs, performing your goals, reaching your objectives. But at the same time, this should be equal for you, what this will bring to the world in general. So if you're capable to speak about this, if you're capable to give this example, do this. If you're capable to go and speak with doctors, with patients, just like the example of the person from this industry, do this, and that will be your contribution to the world that you can give. That's how I believe we should work. So how we should live. This is the support that we can give. That you can ask your employees, you can ask your patients, you can ask about their needs, and to think how you can contribute, not only just giving them an IMP during the visit number 4, but also probably to give some advice, to ask about some other problems, or maybe to consult, for example, another family member who may require also additional help.
Okay. One common mistake early professionals should avoid.
Can you repeat, please? What?
One common mistake early professionals should avoid, according to you.
Mistake. Wow. To think that they know everything, and to know, to think that you are like the best of the best in the field, that it cannot be changed. So we're all humans, we have the possibility to make the mistakes, and we cannot know everything, and sometimes this flexibility and adaptations. So especially the more higher position of the person is, the more experience the person has. Of course, the self-confidence, it must be, otherwise it doesn't make sense to do all of these career steps and to have this internal growth. But anyway, not to be stubborn in your vision and in your principles, even if they work before. It doesn't mean so that what you do, how it say, I forgot. So it doesn't mean that what you do today is quite enough to be at the same place tomorrow. That's the main. Sometimes people, as I said, that with huge experience, with huge expertise, they think that if they were successful and did it yesterday, a year ago, and that brought them to some result, this will be enough to be with the result in a year ahead. So that's the biggest, I believe, mistake that all of us are used to have.
Yeah, I think everybody does this. Okay. One book or resource that influenced your leadership journey?
People around me, so people around me. So yeah, actually, I'm happy to meet people, and now for this 4 years, especially to be inside this international community. I'm speaking a lot. I'm invited to be somewhere, and I meet these people who really have this big hearts, who really would like to change this world. For me, this is the motivation. So sometimes I think that, okay, I haven't got much more force to continue to do this, to struggle. But when I see that people are so openly, so sincerely trying want to help. They are doing this work here also in parallel, so a part of their main KPIs, PNLs, and something like that. But they would like to change this world. They hear these needs. They feel this industry and the needs of the industry. And for me, this is so motivating, and I'm so happy and lucky to meet these people who are for me like this example that probably maybe it's not mentioned for me now why I'm doing this, but perhaps for someone else who can hear these stories, it will be a new motivation not to give up, to reshape their mindset, to reshape their business activities, to think in another way what they can add to become better. And that's the main in everything what we're doing.
Okay, that's very quick, clear, and thoughtful. Thank you for that. Dr. Titkova, thank you for sharing such valuable insights and experiences with us today. Your journey and leadership truly define what it means to architect clinical excellence on a global scale. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow PharmiVon Media for more expert conversations on healthcare research and innovation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
PharmiVon Media, your voice in pharma and healthcare media.